What's up, guys? This video, I thought we'd collect one of the low-hanging fruits here in the gym, and that's spotting. Spotting is something that I pride myself in my years in the gym of being good at, and also helping people understand maybe some things that they need to consider to help them in being a spotter, or even help them when they're grabbing a spot from someone else. The first thing that I want to touch on here is that communication is key. And I'll give you an example. I can't tell you how many times someone's come up to me like, hey man, can you give me a spot on the bench? I'm at a gym that I'm visiting or something like that. And someone's like, hey, can you give me a spot? I'm like, sure. So we walk over there and they sit down on the bench and they put their headphones in and they start laying back. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. We got a lot to discuss here. You want a spot, but what is it that you want from me? Do you want me to give you a lift off? And a lot of guys are like, nah, bro, I don't need a lift off. I'm like, okay, it's your rotator cuff. I often say, you know, I hold a state record currently in the USPA for bench press. I don't hold that record because I lifted it off on my own. I hold the record because I did the lift. So I always tell people, if you're going for a heavier load, get the lift off. But there's lots of things that we need to discuss before I can help this guy on his set. How many reps do you want? Again, do you want the lift off or not? Are there any specifics of how you want me to do things or not do things? Because I'm sensitive to the fact that this is his set and I don't want to get in the way of that. So help me help you by communicating. The other thing is, again, how many reps? And then, do you want me to touch the bar at all? Do you want me to help you get some forced reps or reps that you couldn't do maybe on your own? These are all things that we need to consider when we're stepping into that working set together. Because again, I want to help him and I want to facilitate what he wants out of that working set. And if there's no communication, chances are I'm going to screw that up or something's going to happen. And it puts he and I both in a position to not be as safe. So communication is key. Be very diligent and very intentional about what you want from your spotters. It's your set, so be selfish about it. So let's start by talking about the bench press since we're already kind of there. So when we do this bench press, there's a few things that I want you to consider. So let's say Michael and I here have already communicated on what he wants out of this, and I'm gonna give him a lift off. On that lift off, I often recommend that we do it on their 3 count. That way, again, it's in their control and we're paying attention to like what they want out of this. So on this lift off and any of the spotting that I do on the bench, I prefer to be double overhand. And the reason for that is I find when I go mixed grip or I turn my body and I get in any of these weird positions, I have a higher potential to move or pull him instead of just helping him potentially go north. So when I give him this lift off, we're gonna do it on his 3 count, and I'm gonna stay double overhand. The other thing I'm gonna pay attention to, which you'll see, is the handoff. After the lift off, when I give him full control, I would like him to tell me when he has it so that I know that I'm good to let go, and I want that transition to be as smooth as possible, like I'm not even here. So Mike, let's go ahead and do this lift off on your 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Got it?
Yep.
Cool. So it's a nice smooth transition. Now he can start the lift. Now you'll notice I'm here in a position where I'm ready to help him if needed. Right now, for the sake of the video, we're doing a load that he can handle just fine. But if it was a load, I might stay really close with him here so that I'm ready to work. Just keep working there, kind of normal. But you'll notice that I'm positioned right over Mike. The last thing that Mike's worried about right now is the fact that my nuts are over his face. Stop being weird about it and standing here. You're not gonna be able to help people and you're gonna hurt yourself. Get over him so that you can be safe and that you can help him when he needs it. Because what if on this next rep, boom, it's gone and it's not there. I'm already there to help him. So as we start going through this, let's say he starts struggling. Again, I'm gonna switch to my double overhand so that I can just help him pull straight up. Let's get another one. And again, I'm just kind of fingertips until I really need to be there. Let's rack it. So that I can feel what he needs. My job is to keep it moving. I often recommend that I don't want to do too much, but I also don't want to do too little, right? So I don't want to have a magnifying glass to see if this barbell is still moving. But I also don't want us to turn into the bench row team where I'm doing it for him and we get up, I'm like, yeah, bro, that was all you. No, I want to help him get appropriate workload, but again, I want to keep him safe so that he can focus on prioritizing the muscles that he's trying to activate. Now, again, the lift off I think is important. On a 3 count, make sure the transition is smooth. Get yourself positioned over them so that you can be helpful and keep them and yourself safe. Now, when it comes to the rack, let's unrack this again.
1, 2, 3.
Got it, good. So give me just like 3 reps here, Michael. So when he's done with his 3rd rep and I know that, okay, we've met our rep goal and I'm here with him, I'm often gonna grab the bar and help guide him back into the rack just to make sure we don't have anything funny and it doesn't hit the back and bounce back out. Again, those are just all those little touch points that I want you guys to consider. But the biggest piece of the puzzle is the communication. Talk to the person that's lifting and vice versa. If you need a spot, tell them what you want, because I'm not a mind reader and everyone likes it a little bit different. And if you don't want the lift off, that's fine, but I just need to know that. I need to know how you want me to help you. Help me help you. All right, guys, so we're transitioning to the overhead press or the shoulder press now. We're gonna do dumbbells, but let's talk about, just again, we're gonna keep circling back to this. What's the purpose of a spot? The spot here is that I can help my training partner, who I'm assisting, get into what we call the overload principle, which is getting your body past what it's used to. I can help him get into those reps that otherwise he wouldn't have been able to do on his own, therefore challenging those tissues in his body to create enough stimulus to prompt some growth. And in doing so, he can focus on the primary movers and feeling what he wants to feel instead of a bunch of extra compensatory movement patterns just to make sure the weight goes up. So it allows him to stay focused on what he wants, knowing that I'm gonna keep him safe and that I'm gonna help him keep it moving. Now, we're doing it with dumbbells here, but if I was spotting him in an overhead press with the barbell, it would be a similar cues to the things that we talked about with the barbell bench press. And the things that I'm gonna talk about here with the dumbbell overhead press, again, would apply to a dumbbell chest press as well. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So Michael, go ahead and bring those dumbbells up and let's get in kind of your starting position. The first thing I'm gonna consider, again, for his safety and mine, is my positioning. I'm gonna get really close to this bench so that I can be in a position that I can actually support him and I don't have to be stooped over. So I'm taking a wide stance and I'm getting myself lower and I'm coming under his elbows here in an effort to help him. Because if I come here and I squeeze this really hard, he starts to lose his grip. Feel that, Michael? Yep. That gets people in trouble because then they start really struggling. You're like, oh shit, I gotta squeeze you and help bring you up. And then that's when people start dumping dumbbells. So I'm more of an advocate for under the elbow here. So let's just start doing some reps. So we're going through here. And again, the objective for me is to try to keep him moving. And if I know that we're getting to a spot where he might be struggling, because again, if he's my training partner, I probably know I'm used to kind of where his sticking points are, but I'm just here. That way I'm ready if and when he needs me. Because if I'm back here, what the hell am I gonna do when he needs me right now? Nothing. So I like to be here and I like to be close. And so let's say right now he started struggling, need a little bit of help. And I'm like, all right, cool. And now we're communicating. He's like, 2 more. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I'm here with him. I'm just keeping him moving, giving him just enough to keep it moving, but not so much that I'm robbing him of the workload that he's trying to get out of this set. Good, go ahead and rest. So that's something to consider. I see a lot of people grabbing at the wrists and the forearms, and it's a deal breaker because you'll notice that as the lifter, and you've probably experienced this before, where it makes you lose that grip, and you get the claw because they're squeezing that forearm, and it gets in the way of you concentrating. So my intention is to just keep that dumbbell moving towards the sky. I'm gonna let him do a lot of the control and the stability portions of where it may move, but I'm still there if something happens and he starts losing it in or losing it out. But again, I can't help him unless I'm in a position where I'm already there. And that's one of the biggest trends that we're gonna talk about with all the spotting and all the different compound movements. It's the same on the bench. If I'm standing back and I'm not in a good position, then I'm late if he loses that and it falls on his neck. I wanna be there to keep him safe, to keep myself safe, but ultimately, we're trying to get into the murky waters of this working set to where let's get some reps that you couldn't have done on your own, because that's where the true change is gonna happen. So that's something to consider as you're going through spotting with dumbbells. And again, if we were doing this same thing but with a flat chest press, I'm gonna apply a lot of the same principles on where I'm at and consider the same stuff. So food for thought. All right, guys, we are talking about the deadlift. not much here to talk about when it comes to spotting. It kind of is what it is. But I'll just give you some things that I found helpful. Go ahead and get in your starting position here. So what I found is, especially like with your training partners, if you can climb on their back, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. There's not much I can do here for this guy, but I am gonna stand behind him, and I'm gonna make sure that when he's finishing that top set or that rep, go ahead and hit one for me there, that I'm just here behind him so he's not flexing out, right? We've all seen those videos of when people are passing out after their deadlift. And so I'm mostly just standing behind him if needs be. And this is not something that I hardly ever have to do with my training partners. With my clients that I work with, especially if I have any that are like older demographics and things like that, I'll just stay close to them right here so that I'm ready that if something happens, I'm out of their way for the movement. But if I need to, if there's a balance issue, I can step in and like help them be safe. So that's really the only thing to consider. You're good. That's really kind of the only thing to consider if you're deadlifting. You know, if you're a trainer, just consider that with your clients. Like, make sure you recognize like who you're in the room with, and just it's about keeping people safe. Again, yourself and them. So just being near them, that if there's any balance issues or anything with orthostatic hypotension, which is a fancy way of like they get lightheaded, they're going to pass out. Just being ready for that kind of stuff. But even in your competitions, when I compete in the USPA, you typically have one guy behind you, and that's about it. So not much to talk about here on the spot on the deadlift, but just wanted to make sure that we breezed over that. All right, my friends, talking about the squat now when it comes to spotting. This one's probably the one that maybe challenges people the most, the one that has the potential to be the most frightening to people. So let's make sure we're talking about some of the different variables that go in with this. Again, the first thing, communicate, especially if you're getting a spot from someone that you don't regularly train with. The value of having regular training partners is that you get to know each other's systems and how you move, where they tend to miss the movement pattern, and things that can help you be educated on knowing what might be coming. But if you're spotting someone that you don't regularly lift with, you have to communicate. So get to know them and like what they want from you. How many reps? Do they want assistance on some extra reps that they couldn't have done on their own? Just get all of that out of the way before you get into the set so that you can make sure to help them more efficiently. Again, like we talked about on the bench press, like we talked about on the shoulder press, I want you to be close to their person. If he's not under it right now, but if Michael was under that bar, yeah, go ahead and just unrack it. And he's getting ready to do his set, and I'm back here, like, how am I going to help him? I'm not. Like, I can't get in there at the last minute and be clutch on getting him out of scary positions or dangerous positions. So what I always recommend is I get really close to that person. Again, this is where you got to kind of get out of your bubble and get into theirs. Because in order for me to keep him safe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of match his positioning. I'm going to open my stance, and I'm going to make sure that I'm here with him. So if this was a load that he's not sure how many he's going to get, that I'm ready to move with him. So let's just get like a set of 3 here. So you'll see I'm moving with him. As he squats, I squat. I can kind of watch in the mirror, and I can see what's happening with his body and where he might be missing. So again, go again. So that if he needed help, boom, I'm here and I can be ready to help him. I like to be underneath on his rib cage so that I can grab a hold of him if I need to, if he's falling forward, and I can have the best position to keep him moving north. Now, there's something that you can rack that for a second. Something that needs to be discussed is what's the difference between spotting men and women, right? Because if I'm spotting a woman, I'm not going to get in that same position, right? The value here is that most of the females or clients that I have that I'm spotting, they're not using loads that I have to be in that position. And so go ahead and actually unrack that again for me, Michael. So a lot of times for my ladies, again, I still want to be close to them so that I can help them, keep them safe and myself. But a lot of times I'll come like here under the bar and kind of connect it to their shoulders as we go through that. And then I can still be here and move with them and be ready to help if needed. But that's something to consider. And again, it all depends on if you know the person or not. If it's my wife and we're going for a heavy set, I'm still gonna probably go at her rib cage or here at her sides so that I can be ready to help her, but that's just something to consider. Go ahead and rack that. I've seen, I've watched people do some really odd things when they're spotting on squats. They'll just stand back and they'll be like, yep, looks good, you got it. And I'm like, man, you can't do anything. Or I've seen this one where they get down here and they're like, and I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, just don't overcomplicate it. And I recommend that you get close and that you move and you squat with them and that you're in a position so that when and if they need you, you're already there. Okay, you don't want to be trying to make up time with this. We've probably all seen some pretty horrendous fail videos on squats because of poor spotting and poor communication. Another thing to consider, if you're not spotting with just one person, you can spot with 2 people, 1 on each side of the barbell, that would be ready to move, again, move with the barbell, but ready to grab it if needs be. You even have an opportunity to have 3 spotters. And again, at the powerlifting meets that I do, you have 3 spotters. You have 1 behind you, as I just was, and then you have 1 on each side just for maximum safety. So you've got a lot of variables here, and depending on what kind of load you're working for, you might want to consider adding some spotters on the sides. But for the most part, I find that most people can get away with a good spot with 1 person and having it be right behind them. But again, guys, communicate and think about your positioning of what's going to be your best opportunity to help them if needed. All right, guys, last thing here on the squat. So we've finished the squat, let's say. Let's talk about when we get back into the rack, because again, I often say we don't get hurt in the gym often doing anything cool. It's usually getting in and out of weight. So let's just talk about that. So after we finish this last squat and Michael's going in to rack it, I'm switching from here to here and I'm helping him in, making sure that we're there and keeping that forward pressure so that, again, he doesn't hit that and it bounces out. The other thing, unrack it one more time. In fact, Michael and I just talked about this last night in our training. He was going to rack it and he was doing 1 at a time and then bringing the other one in. The trouble with that is I've seen people get the one placed and when they go to put the other one, that one slides off. So I recommend going in both at the same time, using the mirror as your reference to see where you're at so that your fingers are not in the way, you're not gonna pinch that pinky finger as you go in. And again, me as the spotter, I'm helping him watch too. Going in, watch your fingers, we're in, good. Hit the back wall of the rack and then go down. I see people trying to go down as they go in. Go all the way until you hit the back wall of that rack and then slide down. And then my job as the spotter to keep that forward pressure so again, the barbell doesn't come back out. Just things to consider, and it seems trivial, but I'm telling you, I've saved a lot of accidents paying attention to some of these little cues. So think about it. All right, guys, so as we continue to talk about spotting, of course, there's hundreds of lifts that we're gonna do in the gym that may or may not need or call for a spot. The last thing we'll talk about is just kind of your auxiliary lifts. Things like maybe a preacher curl, a leg extension, a lat pull down, things of that nature, a tricep press down. Again, you could use them or you could not use them, that's up to you, but maybe we'll just give you, again, some examples of that. But again, touching on the points that we've already touched on, communicate with the lifter that you're helping, and to just remember that your role is to not to do it for them, but to just keep them moving and help them help them to have a chance to focus on what they really want to feel so they don't have to compensate so much, and it keeps their form better so that they can get more and draw more out of that working set. So let's grab this. And if we're doing a preacher curl, again, my same thing. We don't have to worry so much about my safety or his, but I'm just here if he needs me. And let's say we're getting close to the end of the set. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna, maybe I'll get under him here a little bit, and I'm just ready and available if needed so that he doesn't hit the wall awkwardly in the middle without me already being there ready to help him. And again, there's a communication in real time of him letting me know how many more he wants. And if he says 2 more, but I know he's got more than that, I'm gonna be like, nah, now we're gonna get 2 more because that's my role as his training partner, right? But again, just thinking about your job is to keep the weight moving so that he can focus on what really matters in that set. So I hope you guys found value in this video. And I hope these are little things that you're gonna take and be able to apply tomorrow in your training session. Because keeping yourself and your training partner safe, I mean, that's the ticket. Guys, we wanna be in this for longevity. So drop the ego, get the lift off for the bench. so that you can get a better handoff and better positioning for your shoulders so you can have better success with that bench press. Consider these topics, and I hope they help you, and I hope you find some of the other information we've got on this YouTube channel valuable. So don't forget, subscribe, like, share. Make sure that you're following us. Make sure you follow the Instagram for the Barbell Club, the.barbell club, or check us out on our website, which is thebarbellclub.net. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget, it's all about building the better you.